And good evening, everyone. ESS, Empire State Sports, proudly presents the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show with your host tonight, Joey Ree. I'm Dave Bartlett, myself, Pete Gosel, and our very special guest, Ashley Thayer Keenan. Welcome to the program, Ashley.
Thank you.
Well, Ashley, Thayer number 2 to come on. We're going from youngest to oldest. So please make sure that Sarah knows that she's on our list. And I'll count on you to help me out with that because I don't really have a contact for Sarah. But
yeah, absolutely.
We want to talk to all of you because St. Lawrence Central sent 3 Thayer girls on to play Division III college softball as pitchers and everything else that you guys do in all acts of life. So tonight's your time to shine.
Awesome.
And I guess where we'll start is tell the people a little bit about yourself, where you went to school. We just said that, but where you went to school, where you went to college, some of the coaches that might have impacted you along the way, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So graduate of St. Lawrence Central, and then I ventured out to SUNY Potsdam, so far away. And basically I did play soccer and softball there. Soccer was kind of the added bonus, which I think is what drew me to SUNY Potsdam, being able to play dual sports. And definitely, Tim Brown, Mr. Brown, I know Lindsay has said that multiple times as well, has impacted her a lot. I think all of us, along with, I would give Brad Smith and Mr. Roy quite a big credit there as well. They coached our soccer team that ended up tying the Class C section for soccer in 2009. And unfortunately, we lost in penalty shootout kicks, but they definitely had a big influence of my soccer career. They did. Yep.
Well, and who'd you play for soccer-wise at SUNY Potsdam?
Tim Moody. I couldn't even tell you where he is today, but I did play for Tim Moody there. Yeah.
And your softball coach at SUNY Potsdam? Shannon
Dillabaugh and Terry Page. Yep, they're both local people.
So talk a little bit about your career at SUNY Potsdam, and were you immediately thrown into the fire? Were you starting pitcher your freshman year? Did it take a couple of?
No, there was another girl there that we split games, and then unfortunately she had some shoulder issues her senior year. So I was a junior then and was pitching almost every single inning possible. That was a little rough, but me and Brittany Plosky normally split the games. I did throw SUNY Potsdam's first ever no-hitter down in Florida. So that was, going down in SUNY Potsdam's history of that. But so it was a good run. I didn't play my senior year actually. So I only played 3 years of college sports. So I do have a year eligibility left, Lindsay, if you need me to jump in for SUNY Canton. Get them some wins, but.
That would be pretty cool. Come out of
right?
retirement, play for your sister.
Right. I'm sure there's some eligibility rules there, but good.
Who's keeping track of SUNY Canton way up here in the North Country?
Right. Yep. So.
Well, where was I going to go? So talk a little bit about, Lindsay talked about this on her show, but talk about those trips, those spring trips where you guys, where did you go your 3 years at SUNY Potsdam and the amount of games that you got in, and was that the experience, one of the main experiences that you're going to remember from your softball days?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That was so fun. We'd always have to leave at crazy hours at 5 a.m. to drive to Syracuse to fly out to Fort Myers, Florida. That's where we always went every single year. But it was just so much fun. It was literally you're on vacation just to play softball, and you got one rest day. So whether that was a beach day or Disney or whatever the case may be, but we always got to do something fun, and Florida was the best time ever. It's kind of what everybody looks forward to, and for Division III softball, I feel like it's just, you get to be with your team. Some of the parents get to go down. I know my dad spent 2 weeks in Florida that one year that Sarah and I were there back-to-back weeks, so he probably enjoyed that. But it was a lot of fun. Definitely going to Florida and just playing softball. We played 2 games a day, double headers, whether that was one in the afternoon, one in the morning, or back to back. But just to see the different competition and your typical, not your SUNY schools was nice, because when you're here, we play the same SUNY schools every year, and you get to know pretty much the girls. So it was nice to get a different view of everybody and, you know, who else is out there. But
What about soccer? Did you make any kind of trips like that with them?
No, the furthest we went was New York City. One year we played Maritime, but we didn't, you know, preseason, you get there a week ahead of time before all the other students do. You have your week of preseason. So that's probably the hardest part about soccer, was that you basically had to come in ready to go, because you got a week of practice and then all of a sudden the season starts. So we did go to SUNY Maritime one time in New York City, and SUNY Alfred, we played in a tournament out there, but we didn't really venture off to New York State for soccer.
All right. Well, and speaking of soccer, by the time that people see this, it's going to be wrapped up. But you kind of took over for Julia Rose, who's long been in charge of little Larry's soccer, and you stepped up to do that. How'd that come about? How much was she knocking on your door, really pressing you to do this?
Actually, I think I kind of got myself into that one. It was, I don't know, gosh, it was pretty early on in the springtime. And, you know, I have Nora now who's 3, and she loved learn to skate. So I was like, well, you know, 3-year-old, 4-year-olds can play soccer. Like, I wonder if there's going to be soccer this year. So I called up Julia, and she was like, well, we aren't really sure because of COVID yet. And, you know, it's a lot on her, and without having a kid in the game anymore. And, you know, she wants to be able to follow her kids around. And, so she wasn't really sure. So I'm like, well, if you need help, you can let me know. And, you know, so then kind of came about that. Yeah, it'd be great if you could just do it. So we decided to do it. We threw it together pretty quickly, just because it was all of a sudden it's July, and, you know, I felt bad for not really having the word out there. And then we just kind of started within a 2-week time frame, but somehow we still ended up with 75 kids. So that was a great number, because I saw on Facebook that everyone's already had registered for soccer or for Potsdam or Messina or Norfolk somewhere, because they weren't really sure with COVID if we were gonna have a program. And somehow we still ended up with a lot of kids, so that was good.
Well, good. I mean, you know, speaking of somebody that's doing and done the same thing for so many years with Brazier Falls Youth Basketball,
yeah,
you have to hand it over to somebody, Ashley, at some point. And
yep.
I think it's going to be in great hands with you overseeing it for whatever amount of time that you need to do it. But the one thing you're probably learning now, being a mom, is boy, you got to get involved in certain things if you want to see your kids do stuff. You know, so.
Yeah. And I said, you know, I was like, well, I'm going to be there, so we might as well help out if we can. And it was definitely, our first night was last Thursday, because Tuesday we got rained out because of that big storm. But it was a learning curve for me. I will admit that. I was a little, you know, I helped out Julia, gosh, I think when I was in 2009 or 2010, when I was just so I didn't even remember what it was all about. And it was a learning curve for me for sure, but we're getting there.
but you have the background, so it's, you know, it's a short curve.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times with youth sports, you know, communities run into the position where they don't have anybody. So some dad or some mom just does it, and they don't have the background.
Yeah,
you know?
that's
so
true.
That's a big benefit, and it's you know, a good thing that you're doing.
Yeah, and I think what I mean by, like, I just, you know, I had this practice plan laid out. It was going to be great, and I was like, I've got, you know, I did it, and it was like, I told the girl that I have a few volunteers helping me that are varsity players. I'm like, this is what we're going to do, X, Y, and Z. And then I didn't realize the level of 5 and 6 year olds. I was like, yep, never mind. This is not going to go.
Let's back it up a few steps.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just learn here how to.
They're just there to run and kick the ball. They really, yeah. That is.
Yeah, exactly right.
I've coached basketball from the 3rd and 4th grade level all the way up. And what a difference between a 3rd and 4th grade and trying to get them. You try to get them prepared, but it's really a free for all at that age.
Yeah, I was not expecting that, and I I felt bad for all the parents because I was just like, Tuesday's gonna be better, I promise. Like Tuesday, we're gonna come in with I'll have a better idea of where everybody's at. But so that's good to know what happens in every program. I was a little defeated on Thursday.
So now that you got your feet wet coaching,
Mm-hmm.
what are future aspirations as far as like, do you see yourself doing high school or middle school or anything like that? Or
I don't know. I do. Being there, it made me realize how much I miss playing soccer and miss the game of soccer. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see about that. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. I haven't thought about that far yet. Yeah.
I'm sure it's a ways out, but it's got to be in the back of your mind that, some of the older coaches, not to point to anybody here, but everybody's getting older. So,
Right. Yeah.
you get to think about taking over sooner or later.
I'll keep that in the back of my mind. I will, but I'm not quite ready for that yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got a good connection here if you ever want to talk about it. So
Okay, good to know. Thanks.
So let's change the pace a little bit. Talk about talk about your family a little bit and growing up with your sisters. One of the running jokes with your dad on this show is, how many times I saw him sitting on a bucket because I can see home plate from my house, and I would just sit here in a chair and watch him catch balls while I'm drinking a toddy or two.
Yep,
and just hear the pop of that glove. Talk about all the time that your dad gave the three of you guys, because it had to been, for lack of a better word, it just had to been a precious time for all of you guys. Looking back now, what he did for you guys to help you.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah. We spent a lot of hours out there. I think we moved to the arena when we started throwing a little bit too hard against his shed, and we're starting to make dents and we missed his glove. But yeah, I think back about the nights. Every Sunday night we'd go down to Syracuse and go to the Heidi and Holly Hazen in January and February to get prepared. So every Sunday we popped in the car, we grabbed a few catchers, and off we would go. We drive down and drive back and for the hour that we were going to throw. But I was talking to Tony Vaver about this other day at the fitness center, and it's just so funny because we were talking about the T-ball and the countless hours of that, and I really think that's what kind of sparked it, was watching those modified and youth games of, ball. My dad's like, yeah, we're not doing this. Like, everyone line up, we're gonna learn how to pitch. So it's not going to be a 3-hour game of walking every kid that there is. But no, I know it was, to look back and think about, especially Lindsay, like all the accomplishments that she got, and that we were all able to go to follow her through her regionals and her nationals. And, it was almost more fun to watch her get that far and, be with the whole family and be able to really look back on that. And I really think those are part of almost the best memories of it, actually, was, we all hopped in a van and we traveled 24 hours straight to Oklahoma City. So, to cheer Lindsay on. So I don't know. I mean, those looking back, that's most of our childhood was traveling through softball and, being there as a family together.
So I got a question. How competitive are you girls?
Well,
amongst each other, because there's got to be a little family thing there going now.
Yeah, it's probably, I will say this out loud, and Sarah will probably say the same thing. It's a good thing that Lindsay's 4 years younger than us, so none of us had to even compete with her. So really, it's between more Sarah and I. We've kind of given in that when people say, "Oh, are you the girl that played softball?" And we're like, "We're probably talking about Lindsay, seeing her recently," but yes, we all did. But if we sit down, we don't bring up one softball game at the dinner table, and that is when Sarah played at SUNY Oswego, and we're playing home at SUNY Potsdam. Sarah and I were pitching against each other. I will admit that they won the game, but I did hit a triple to the fence off Sarah. Then she claimed she struck me out the next inning, but I don't really remember that part of it. But
it's all a blank after the ball hit the wall on your triple. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. That's the one game that we just don't talk about anymore. But, so one day Sarah called me up. I remember I was in the dorm at SUNY Potsdam, and she calls me, and just to throw this out there, I'm left-handed. Sarah and Lindsay are both right-handed. So when I pitch, my ball veers towards a right-handed batter, where theirs veer towards left. So I'm going to face majority right-handed batters. So Sarah calls me up and she's like, hey, did you check the SUNYAC leader scoreboard? And I'm like, no. She's like, well, we're tied first in a category. I was like, oh yeah, what's that? She goes, most hit batters. That's not something to be proud of. But
yeah, that had to have been something to be going through at the same time with your sister, different locations, but same league.
yeah.
That had to have been really cool, and it's something that you guys will look on. And then the two of you get to follow your younger sister Lindsay and the unbelievable career that she had.
Yep. Yeah. It was competitive, but it was a lot of fun. Yep.
All right. Well, the one person we didn't mention there, let's talk a little bit about mom. And mom got brought up. Your mom takes care of my shot clock for my basketball games, and she takes care of the clocks for soccer. So her and I talk a lot, and obviously I see her and you running all the time.
Yes.
So I'll tell a quick story, Pete and Dave. About 7-8 years ago, when I retired from the post office and I had a lot of time, I got back into running big time. And I just remember one day I'm out on a nice 6-7 mile run and I'm just going in my direction, and Ashley passes me 3 different times. And I'm like, you are really ticking me off right now. I decided to give up running at that point.
Oh no. Frazier's only so big when you got to get your long runs in,
Hey, I finished second yesterday in the 5K down in the summer festival.
Okay.
But nobody knows that the front of the pack, there was like 15 people ahead of me and they took a wrong turn. That's not my fault though. So, it's what it is. But talk a little bit about mom, and then what I want to lead up to is I don't think a lot of people realize some of the accomplishments that you've achieved in the running world. But talk a little bit about mom, and everything, and then we'll talk on that.
So I will give my running career towards her. I remember every day after school, we would all pack up on our bikes and she would get her running. It was just, that's what we did. There'd be a line of 8 of us probably in front of her. By the time we had the McEwens, some of the Nortons, we'd pick them up along the way and go through town, and she'd get her running, everybody to get exercise in. It was great. But it was funny. Like, I never would have guessed to ever think I'd ever want to run, but I don't know if it was just something because we've always did it or what the case may be. But so I would definitely give her all credit for that. And she, she's always there to support us and everything that we've done. Even this youth soccer I was talking about, I had registration. She goes, I'll come sit down and help you registration, not the arena. And, she's always up and wants to be the cheerleader and support. And I think she's some of the most competitive out of all of us. But, whether that be, I remember when we were in that half marathon in Canton, she was going to beat Ryan White. Like, that was going to have to be it. Like, she had to beat Ryan. But Ryan,
well, I wouldn't want to lose to him either. So
no. He was laying it on pretty thick that he was going to beat us all. And that was not anywhere close to the case, but so I don't know. She's always there to make sure that, whether that be Lindsay had her Subway sub halfway in the middle of her double headers, or, making sure that the scorebook and everything's done. But yeah.
Okay. So talk a little bit about, it's funny because before we came on air, Pete was watching some of the triathlon in the Olympics. We've had Jenna Chamberlain on, a triathlete. She just did another half Ironman.
Saw that. That's awesome.
Weeks ago. And we've talked about this. It's one of the coolest things I ever saw. In fact, today is the day of this taping for the people that are going to see this show down the line. But today was the Ironman at Lake Placid.
It was. Yes, it was. Yep.
And it's one of the coolest things I ever saw was when I went up to watch her do the full Ironman. It really was an eye opener for me. I didn't give that sport enough credit. It's unbelievable. But you have done the 26-mile portion of a triathlon. You are an avid runner. Talk a little bit about, I want it, Boston Marathon.
Yep. I ran the Boston Marathon twice. Yep. Okay. So, I really don't even know how I started, honestly, but to go back to your Ironman point, after doing that, I don't think I ever want do. I give them so much credit. That Ironman, couldn't even imagine. I don't know if it's a swim portion that gets me or what, but I couldn't imagine after running 2.2 miles going on to complete miles and miles and miles on your bike and in the mile of swim. But yeah, so I ran the Boston Marathon twice. I ran Chicago, Buffalo, Arizona, Marine Corps, which is in Washington, D.C. I ran that twice. And I'm gearing up to run Wineglass in Corning early October. So
Where's that?
in Corning, New York.
Oh, okay.
Yep, in October. Yep, early October. So got my 10 miles in this morning, getting there, starting to climb back up there for mileage. But yeah, I don't even know. I never would have guessed it. I think one day after college and, you know, being done playing competitive athletics, I was bored. So I just was like, let's just see how far I can run, how fast I can run it. And then I trained myself to run the Buffalo Marathon. End up placing third in my age group in that and qualified for Boston. So then I just haven't stopped, I guess. So.
Well, you got to talk a little bit because obviously all these other marathons that you mentioned, you mean every marathon is the same distance, but when you talk Boston Marathon, you're talking about one of the legendary marathons in all of the world. What was that like running in the city of Boston and probably one of the most prestigious events in the running world?
Yeah, it was. The energy and the people there were incredible. I mean, that was my first marathon that I was like, I don't even want to wear headphones. Like I didn't even listen to music because just, you could see, I mean, there was people from just crowds and crowds every step of the way. It was amazing. I mean, the colleges that are right around there, the people that came out, and I mean, all of Boston shuts down on that marathon. It's Marathon Monday. So like all the offices, everything shut right down and everyone just comes out and it's just, and I actually ran it the year after the bombings. So it was like it was a whole big thing. And it was an incredible experience. If anybody could even, if you're ever around in Boston, that area, I was just going to watch it. Just to see it all, it's amazing. It definitely is. I mean, that's the one marathon I would just keep going back for. But out of all the marathons I've ran, Boston is just, this is a crowd, you can't compare it. But then the level of organization that has to go into that is just incredible. I mean, to get all those people to the start line and the waves that go off and the people, and it's incredible.
So actually, I got a quick question. We all experience highs in life during playing sports and stuff. Now they claim that runners get a high during their run. Do you experience that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, I guess you could say that. It's, you know, because even like after you're done running, you just have a better day in general, for me anyways. I mean, it's definitely just, you know, all those endorphins, everything. It's so indescribable. You know, whether it's a short, fast run or it's a longer, slower paced run, it's just, yeah, you always have a better day. And afterwards, whether it was a bad run or a good run. So yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. I've heard that several times, but I just never knew.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. When I used to run, if I was in a bad mood or having a crappy day, you go for a run and it just totally changes everything.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I get in that same mood just running down the Riverview.
Well, that's as far as we can run now, Joe.
Hey, that's the best mile in Braziers, that stretch from my house to Riverview. Well, I mean, that's awesome, Ashley. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because again, you're looking at somebody that I love to run, but when it came to the event itself, I would have been, why am I going to go up and watch the Ironman? But then when Jenna did it, I mean, I'm going to go see her. For you to mention the fans, you know, I wouldn't think of going to watch the Boston Marathon, but now I think differently of it because I think it is more of a big deal than people probably give it credit for. You don't have to be a runner to appreciate what you're seeing, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And I mean, really, people are there having a good time. Like people start drinking. It's amazing. The drunk people you see as like you get closer to the finish line, like, because they've been drinking since like 9 a.m., 7 a.m. waiting for the Boston Marathon to start. Like, so you get, especially that college town, they're funny. Like, it's just the signs you see along the way. I mean, you don't even have to know anybody, and it's a lot of fun. But
Well, speaking segue, hey, here's a good segue. Speaking of having a lot of fun, I saw you last weekend at Cody Kilcoyne's wedding, and then saw you Wednesday night.
Yes, yes, that was a good
We
time.
saw you Wednesday night
Yes.
with the Stanley Cup celebration. Let's get your take on the amount of time that you spent around it, and what you saw, what you felt, what you took away from it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So to be truthfully honest, you know, when Jack was like, oh, let's go down. And I was like, it's going to be such a long line. Like, you know, and I've never really followed hockey. So I was like, well, you know, like we'll see. And then when we got there, I was like, it changed my whole perspective of it. I was like, I can see why it was such a, you know, I mean, obviously it's a big deal to the hockey lovers, everybody. And I couldn't believe the amount of people that had came from near and far in the lines, and you know, we waited an hour and 45 minutes outside the arena to go inside the arena. But it was well worth the wait. You know, it was incredible to see the people, and you know, just the accomplishments for Derek and what he, you know, how amazing that is for such a small town. I think it gave everybody hope, you know, a little bit of glimmer that there's more, you know, chase your dreams and they're possible. I thought it was really cool. And the party they had afterwards at Riverview, and it was a really thing to be a part of, to witness and to see the community really come together. And just, I mean, I saw people, you know, I work in SUNY Potsdam still, and, you know, people that I see at the gym that don't even, you know, came from Potsdam, you know, Norwood, wherever the case may be, from all over to see this. And it was great. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Well, Ashley, when you know, we're getting ready to wind things down, but before we wrap it up, give you one chance to say a little bit about your husband Jack, because Jack beat you into the Hall of Fame at SLC. He didn't.
He says he does, but we were in our team. My softball team was inducted the same year. Was supposed to be this COVID year. So he beat me individually. But he was really mad when I got that same letter, got that phone call, because he was like, no, he was like, this is my moment.
All right. So there's competitiveness then between husband and wife here, but yes. He is getting in, and actually that's going to be a really special day, obviously for you guys, because Jack's getting in, but also Cody Kilcoyne's getting in the same. Yes. And obviously the connection that those two have, you guys all being down there for the wedding last week. And so, you know, we'll look forward to seeing you there, but talk a little bit about that. You know, give your husband his props right now that, you know, he's getting into the SLC Hall of Fame this fall.
He is. Yes. The All-American lacrosse player that he is. Yes. And I will tell him, and I say this out loud to him, that Nora will not play lacrosse. So
that's right. Softball and lacrosse. That's right.
Yeah. She will play softball. She won't even play box lacrosse. Sorry, Jack. We're not playing box either. She will not hold a lacrosse stick, but no, he is. Yes. He's very excited for that. And, you know, he talks about that quite often, and he will tell people that he ran the Chicago Marathon because he crossed the street of the race to get from one side to the other. So he technically ran in the Chicago Marathon, but you have to so he tells people that he ran in the Chicago Marathon as if like he did it, but he only crossed the street of the race. So, but no, yes, it will be a very fun weekend. And I will admit that it is just my team getting in, not me individually. So he did beat me in that, but he is very excited.
Well, I know that we are, you know, fingers crossed, looking forward to it. It'll be 2 years since we've had a Hall of Fame induction. So I know I'm anticipating that to be just a great night, especially with everything that just happened with the Stanley Cup. It's going to be awesome. So we'll look forward to seeing you there. Yeah, Ashley, we want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thayer girl number 2. We will get Sarah on at some point so we can get her take on things, being the eldest of the 3 of you.
Right.
And
she'll probably say you saved the best for last, but we'll see about that.
Okay. So. All right, Ashley, thank you so much for coming on. And
thank you.
Pete, you can have at it.
Thank you. Well, Ashley, thanks a lot for coming on. We wish you the best of luck in the coaching for the youth. It's going to be hard at sometimes, but it is what it is. And actually, Joey can attest to this, it's usually not the players you got to worry about. It's the parents. So just a little heads up there. So thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate it. And best of luck in anything you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's going to be it for tonight here on ESS Empire State Sports and the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. For Joey Rion, Dave Bartlett, and myself, Pete Gosel, and our special guest, Ashley Thayer Keenan. Good night, everybody. Stay safe.